There we go. Good.
Mark Victor Hansen, it is such an honor and a privilege to be speaking with you. Thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm extraordinary. I feel like in a holiday festive mood, and our business is going great. Our family is superlative. One of our daughters fell in love last night, so that's even better. We want her to be happily married to a great guy, and it looks that way. So cool.
That's fantastic. And you what more can you ask for?
That's right.
So our paths
peace in the Middle East.
Oh, well, there you go. So our paths have crossed a few times in the past 12, 13 years. You and I were in a meditation mastermind together with Stephen Sadleir.
Oh boy, I love Stephen. He's on moving to Hawaii. I just got a text from him the other day.
Yeah, well, I knew he had bought property years ago, but so that was really cool. And then I'm in Northern Virginia, and you were in Tyson's Corner doing a book signing, and I stopped and I got your book and you signed it for me. Thank you very much. And then turns out this was before I met my husband that I'm married to now. And that's when I met our mutual friend, Rick.
Oh, well, Rick's in London. He just texted me this morning.
Yes, he sent me a picture because we were texting and I was like, send me a picture, but he's best friends with my husband. And so I really appreciate, there's been a couple of times that I've been with him, my husband, I've been having dinner or whatnot. And he's like, oh, I know Mark, let me pick up the phone and call. And so I appreciate the couple of times that you've gotten on the phone with me, and just wanted to acknowledge you for that. Yes, thank you. So we don't have a whole lot of time, and I could probably ask you questions for hours on end, but we're not going to do that today.
Ask anything you want. I'm here.
Well, the big question, because my third book just came out, and I was a co-author in it, and you've done a lot of that as well. First of all, you have sold over 500 million books. Do you still hold the Guinness Book of Record? Because it is showing that online that you hold the Guinness Book of World Record for the most number of books sold. Yeah,
and my goal is to sell 1 billion books, so I'm only halfway to my goal, and I'm going to live to be 127 with options for renewal, so I got plenty of time to pull that off. And I was on the biggest podcast with Amazon for a second time, and a guy who's a lovely guy named Mark, no relation, of course, but he said, do you know the 4-minute mile? I said, yeah. Roger Bannister broke it. And then I said, do you know what happened the next week? He said, no idea. I said, 119 people ran a 4-minute mile because there was a perceived barrier that wasn't real. You thought your heart had jumped out of your chest. Same with book sales. Nobody could sell 500 million until I did it. And obviously we keep going up. And obviously we got, right now we got I've got a biography out called Relentless, which is obviously the #1 biography written by Mitzi Perdue, who does only 22 million chickens a week at Perdue Chicken. So she's a little busy and wonderful. And they sold even 100,000 of those in Ukraine, where she went to do humanitarian. So the point is, how do you sell those is, I think, your intrinsic question. Is that it?
Yeah. And not only that, but how does that make you feel? Because I'm a mindset coach, and I always want to know, like, how do things make people like, is it, wow, I can't believe this, or are you expecting it? Is that the mindset that goes into that?
Well, the book that we wrote about that was right here. This is that we say, look, everyone knows ask and you shall receive. This is ask. This is the #1 book out right now called The Dream from Your Bridge to Your Destiny. And you can see all our videos on it on YouTube. But what we say is that ask, and then the second part is you will receive. But the trouble is most people don't know how to be in a receptive mood. So you're literally back to meditation. You've got to put yourself in that receptive mood, which is what Sadleir does and goes through the chakras and all that. But obviously I lived in a receptive mood. You got the Neville says you got to, in your meditations, you got to live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. So I was at 1 billion books before. I'm at 1 billion books. So obviously I'm doing great. And by the way, I'm exceedingly thankful. We've tithed in every book. We do bypass marketing, the likes which nobody else does. And the publishing industry, I'm with 8 houses, like the one you got. We got $1 million before we started writing it with Random House. Cash in a Flash, a great book and a fun book. The predecessor book was, of course, this one, which, One Millionaire, which is phenomenal. And that book, we sold so many so fast because Amazon was just sort of a nascent company. It came out October 17, 2001. And Amazon starts at 6 in the morning, goes to 11. And we asked everybody at our seminars. We were doing seminars with 4,000 people a weekend. And it's $100 million company Bob Allen and I had, so with a guy named Tom Painter, the three of us owned it. And it was great because we said, I want everyone to go buy the book at 6 a.m. and we'll give you $250 worth of Mark stuff, $250 worth of Bob's electronic stuff. And we were at 79,000, as you know, the list goes like that. And by 10 o'clock, we were almost number one. And then all of a sudden, all of Amazon went. And what had happened is that Jeff Bezos says, I am the Earth's biggest bookstore and nobody can sell more than I can deliver. So Bob had written, he'd obviously sold 50 million copies of a book called Nothing Down. And he and I have been close friends for decades. Bob had written a book called The Challenge, which send me to any unemployment line. I'll get everyone making $5,000 a month, or I'll give them $5,000 for 12 months, or send me to any city with $100 bill and I'll buy $1 million worth of real estate in 24 hours. So I'm with Bob when Jeff Bezos is saying that. He said, nobody can sell more than I can deliver with Amazon books. So I said, Bobby, I just think he challenged you. How do we melt them? And so that happened by 10:30. We'd shut down his whole system because we got so many orders so fast. So at 12 o'clock, I get a call from Jeff Bezos, which I don't know how he got my number, but it was great that he did, and said, I'll pay you and whoever your partners are to come up here first class. You got to talk to me. And if I'd known he was going to become the richest guy part time, I would have brought video cameras and all that. But back to your question, at a different level and different perception, there's no way you can predict some of what's going to happen now. So as your stuff happens, make sure you get it all on video, because you put it up on YouTube and everywhere, right? All the social media. So, but we've had nothing but fun doing all this stuff. And a lot of it, we got stopped by the publisher. Like, we wanted to drop 1 million ping pong balls at South Coast Plaza. And of course, the lawyers went nuts because people will dive for them under cars and get killed, and then they get sued. The Plaza and Random House, which is a $25 billion company. But it was really a cool idea. And if you got the right ping pong ball, it would have one of our book offers as a gift to you. So we would have had 1 million people come out all at once. So I keep coming up with these wackadoo ideas, and some of them work. Like we did do, Red Cross was out of blood, and Livio says, come on, Mark, help us get blood. So I said, well, go to medical doctors. They said they won't do it. And there's no pseudo blood. So if you haven't got blood, you're called dead if you get to the hospital and you need it for a miscarriage, a birth, or a death, or a cancer accident. Anyhow, so I said, look, I work with the chiropractors. They've given me 3 of my 10 honorary doctorates. I'll tell you what, 77,000 doctors see 250,000 patients a month. I'll ask them. And we wrote them in a note because this was still a while ago. And they all knew me because I've done all the trainings with them. And we said, if you come in and we reactivate your old patients, give them a free adjustment. If they give a pint of blood, call 800 Give Life. That's still the number of Red Cross. And they give a pint of blood, we'll give them a book. And we give out 1.5 million books, and we were number one here, as it says, for the next 58 weeks in a row. So what you do is, we took a negative. The chiropractors had just had all the money ripped out by insurance because the president didn't like chiropractic, which is tragic. And, we shouldn't be killing businesses. And the Red Cross had no blood. So in math, a negative times a negative is a positive. And that's what Elon Musk does. He always takes a negative and figures out how to plus it. And I do the same thing in the book business. And what we've done is nothing compared to what we've got on. We got plans going in next year. We've had a phenomenal year because I started a publishing company called Mark Victor Hansen Library.com, where we publish only impact books. And the publishing business, I'm over answering your question, but the publishing business is crushing itself because of the pandemic. We've gone from 19,000 bookstores down to 400, which is tragic in my mind, because I love those ladies, gentlemen, librarians, all of them. They're all been good, made me a rich, wealthy person. And I've enjoyed every second of it, as has Dr. Canfield. And I'll talk for Jack on that one. And just, Jack says, don't talk for me. I said, well, I'm saying something positive. You ought to like it, Jack. Anyhow, so we're changing the world all over again. Can I give you one more story about the publishing?
Please do.
So these 2 little brothers are hearing my wife, Crystal and I. Crystal and I had written, as I said, this book together, and she's way brighter than I am. But we're down in Houston with the collective group, 700 people. And afterwards, this little kid comes up to me shaking like a leaf. And I'm going, okay, I give up. Why are you shaking? He says, you intimidate me. I said, me? This kid was uber bright. You could see it. I said, how the heck can I intimidate you? You're the brightest looking kid I've met. He said, you're your world's best-selling author. I said, well, tell me your story. He said, I'm 14. I'm worth $843,000. I passed a real estate test here, back in Ohio at 8 years old, bought my first property by shoveling snow, got an owner care back. I owned 60 properties. So we did his book, which has been #1 7 weeks, called The Garage. His little brother comes up to my wife, pulls at her blouse and says, I'm rich too. I'm only 12. And he just called us. I could show you the video. He's worth $250,000, and we did his book called The Treehouse. It's also #1 in a totally different category of agriculture, because he wants to plant 1 trillion trees from mulberry, which I didn't know is edible, all the way to apple. Because I said, look, we're going to plant the trillion trees, end global warming, which I don't believe in anyhow, right? But if we're going to plant them, let's do it by. He's doing it with drones and it's. But anyhow, he just was at an auction and he sent us a video. My wife and I were just driving home from buying all the stuff for a holiday that's coming up with our whole family. We'll have 10 people here in a couple of days. Anyhow, so it's fascinating that he said, I just got it. I got the bid. And I'm only 12 years old and I got the best. I outbid everybody on this giant piece of property, got a fourplex. And you go, I'm so proud of these kids, because they're selling books because they're saying to other kids, hey, wait a second. You can go to the seminars, you can listen to Mark, you can listen to the other people that are and they've got pictures with all the top economists in the world, and they're just little kids. At 14, he's not little really, but I mean, he's tall, but he's
he's young.
Yeah, he's young. There you go. Thank you for bailing me out. And yeah, it's wonderful though. And I love them and her family. And it's so exciting that we're doing that kind of book that every kid in America, I think, should read it. Because did you know you could have bought properties when you were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
No.
Yeah, me. And I shoveled lots of snow, delivered lots of papers, would have gladly done that and been richer than I am. But I'm just thankful that I'm changing it, because the book business is the greatest in the world. And what we say is that we ghostwrite the books for people, and we are preferentially fiction, but we say, we take your story and bring it to life and impact, right? Because we think we need more stories now. What Plato said, who's one of my heroes, started Western education. Plato said, whoever controls the story controls the future. I don't like the way the story is going in America right now, and you and I can change that, or some of the people may not agree with you and I, but that's their tough luck. I mean, America is set up to have free enterprise, to have more freedom. And I teach 4 freedoms. You got to have freedom of finance, right? And that means you can't be a job slave. You've got to have money freedom, to have time freedom, to have relationship freedom, so you and your significant other or sweetheart can spend time. And then you got to be passionate on purpose, which means you can't retire, because if you don't do anything, your mind's not challenged, you don't have any friends, you don't have a relationship, and you'll run out of money, which is, and I'm 74 and 75 in a couple of days, and I have never done so well, and love it. And I can tell you that, well, I've befriended these kids. I mean, they'll never forget me, never forget them. And I'm on speed dial for them. I mean, hey, look what I just bought.
Oh, I love how you're just making such an impact, and you're continuing to do so. And quite frankly, it's people like you that gives people like me more hope, to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to. I don't know what your age is, and I'm not asking, but I'm in my 4th quarter, technically speaking. If you just watch the World Cup, which I was doing a seminar, and they just watch World Cup right before, and in triple overtime, and obviously we know who won, Argentina. But the point is, the last quarter is where you're supposed to be most productive. No, I'm going to go golf. I'm going to go play pickleball. Nothing wrong with golf, pickleball, fishing, but that's not a livelihood. What we're saying in Ask is that you were born with a destiny code, and if you're alive, you've still got to fulfill it. God doesn't want you. And you say, well, prove that. All you got to do is go on YouTube and watch any near-death experiences. Every one of them died, went to the other side and said, I don't want to go back. This is nice. This is wonderful, right? Because we only see 2% of the electromagnetic spectrum. On the other side, you see bigger colors, brighter colors, better sounds, and love and warmth and all that. And you go, I don't want to go back. So, no, you made a deal before you left that you're going back. And you got guys like Dr. Eben Alexander dead 6.5 years and 6.5 hours, sorry, and comes back. I mean, stuff that couldn't happen, but he said, God told me I wasn't done.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm not in my fourth quarter yet, but I'm approaching, but still have some time for that. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree that I'm not stopping until I take my last breath. I will be pressing the button on my happiness mission because it's a travesty with what's going on in today's world.
Everyone should be happy and have the options to figure out how to be happy. And I just got done listening to Patrick Stewart, the guy who did Star Trek, Captain Picard, who's one of my heroes. And he said, we got 70 million people forced into homelessness because of the wars in Ukraine and Syria and all that stuff. And there's no reason for these wars are all politically motivated. They're not, this is like dumbass squared. And I am in absolute judgment. But we look, because we got inflation. I did a whole video. You can out-inflate inflation with thinking. That's what Elon Musk does. And here's the guy that should be the emulatable pedestal. He's got 7 multi-billion-dollar businesses that are changing the world.
It's crazy.
I did a whole thing that he'll be the first trillionaire. And I hope he watches it. But we're having a lot of people watch it because he's popular. And I did one on Jordan Peterson and one on the kid who's, because you're doing this, you better watch it on Mr. Beast. Do you even know who that is?
Mr. Beast, I do know the name.
Okay, well, he's only made on YouTube at 23 years old, $54 million. You can watch my video and it'll tell you where to go on his stuff. But I mean, YouTube is a cash cow for anybody. I mean, if you get 1 million viewers, you get 7,000 a month, probably for the rest of your life because it keeps self-populating. And anybody can figure out a niche that nobody else has ever figured out and then go take it to the moon.
Yeah. Oh, incredibly.
I mean, let me just, so we've got one right now. I just did I'm finishing a book, but we did the videos first called Money Wants Me because we're going this way. 500,000 people in tech have been unemployed in the last 2 weeks. And a lot of them are making $500,000 a year. Well, they got nowhere to go because there's no other jobs. They can't cross. So they got to go be an entrepreneur. And I teach how to do that in moneywantsme.com. So it's just so cool. But all the videos are up at YouTube and it just, you go, everybody, what we taught in this book is, and then I'll shut up for a second and let you ask a question. But the first line I wrote in 1 Minute Millionaire, which is it's a #1 book in Greece right now, which is crashing, and #1 book in Vietnam, where I've been a couple of times in the last couple of years at high pay. Anyhow, the first line we wrote is, there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. There's one right, easy, acceptable, perfect way for your destiny code to pull it off. I don't care how you do it, but you can't depend on the government because today the government is voting against our Social Security and they're saying it's an entitlement and we're giving the entitlement my ass. I've been paying in for 58 years. Sorry, I shouldn't have been caustic.
It's okay. It's okay.
There's no entitlement there. I paid for this.
That's right. So to sum this up, because I was thinking there's all sorts of things and, maybe we'll do down the road, we can do another one. But to sum it up, you are magnificent at marketing. You are a marketing genius. That's what this really boils down to. I'll
drink to that.
So,
by the way, everybody needs to learn how to market because it is a learnable, teachable, transferable skill that I've spent my whole life teaching. Like I did the mega book marketing seminars, and we'll start them again now that the whole thing is over, and we can have seminars next year. You can go to my websites, all of them, and we'll invite anyone. And if they, have to go somewhere, go to reception@markvictorhansen.com, ask what seminars we got coming up. We got a bunch of them. And because if people get in the energy orbit of somebody, they go, hell, Mark ain't that smart. And that's probably true. But I do know how to figure out how to market because I'm absolutely a creative. And the best marketing hasn't been done yet. And we're going to do it together because for the first time, we're cooperating literally around the world. Like one of my best students is in Pittsburgh, called me this morning, wished me happy holidays, but in 4 years, he's gone from 0 to making $50 million a year. And then he said, look, we got a big problem with solar energy out here. He does paving for Amazon and Walmart. And he said, how do we solve it? I said, we're going to have to, anyhow, I can't tell you the solution, but I gave him the solution. He said, that's easy. I said, the point is, I don't live in the perception of the problem. You are living in the problem and believing the government's causing the problem, and they are. But let's go to the solution, which is when everybody else shut down in cars, Elon made more cars than ever and became the richest guy in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
270
Well,
miles.
yeah, that's crazy. And we have two of them, two of his cars. So yeah.
Yep. Thank
So
you.
I was just at the Ultimate Wolf Camp with Power Team International and Bill Walsh,
Yep.
because I run the podcasting division for the Mentor Studio, which is founded by Mary Glorfield, who does all Tony Robbins workshops, live events, and whatnot. And he gave out a gift to the VIPs, which is your entire library of marketing books.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank God. I was just with him this weekend. He
Yeah.
had a 9-figure group.
Yes.
Apologize, but I got to sign off. I
I know
thank
you do.
for watching.
Thank you so much.
Sandee will have me back and I'll gladly do it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
so
Mark. Take care. Bye-bye.